Hello everyone, Midlife Maestro here, and I finished Crow Country. It's a fairly new survival horror game with a retro feel. I really enjoyed this one, so let's talk about it. As I mentioned, the game is retro style, and it reminds you of games from the PS1 era. It's delightful, bringing up feelings that I would call cozy nostalgia, like watching a vintage horror movie at home on VHS with friends while wrapped up in a warm blanket. You play as Mara Forrest. For reasons that aren't entirely clear at first, she's looking for a missing man named Edward Crow. He was last seen at his theme park called Crow Country, so your investigation takes place there. More about the narrative is revealed bit by bit throughout the game by talking to NPCs and reading memos and other documents you find throughout the abandoned amusement park. You know how sometimes you come across documents in video games and they're a real chore to read? They can be too long and they can ramble too much. I didn't feel that way with Crow Country. I actually looked forward to them. They were juicy, bite-sized bits of info that made the story a little clearer with each one read. The handful of NPCs you meet each have their own role to play in the game's story. They're witty and they're endearing. They're not just space fillers either. They all seem to have a distinct part to play and they don't feel like afterthoughts. Take the police officer for example, who's also investigating the scene, or Edward Crow's relatives. All of them are important to the story. They also sometimes actively assist you rather than just giving lore information. All of these details are packed in a pretty short game. I'd say the average person might need half a dozen hours or so to complete it. Those few hours are chock full of puzzles to solve and secrets to discover. I enjoyed the puzzles quite a bit, and for the first time in a long while, I actually took notes. I also took screenshots of documents I found that I thought might be helpful for later, and guess what? This made the puzzle solving easier and it was super gratifying. The combat involves using Mara's pistol and other weapons discovered during the course of the game to fight off zombie-like monsters. Ammunition is found all over the place, so you never really get that dread of facing an enemy with no ammo. And that's good, because there's no option for melee combat. If you don't want to fight, you can pretty easily just run past each enemy, but they will get in the way when you're trying to explore. An even better option, if you just want a puzzle game, is to turn off the combat completely. That's a very nice feature, but there's also a hard mode for people who like pain. Healing and curing status effects uses a memo that's just like they were back in the day. It was another nice touch that makes the game feel like one you might have loved playing from a couple of decades ago, but you don't remember very well. Graphics do exactly what they're supposed to do. They make us feel like we're taking ourselves back in time, and they're really charming. The Lego-like visuals aren't just a throwback, they're a loving homage to a bygone era, and the devs nailed it with masterful art design and atmospheric lighting. In addition to the art design, the music evokes creepy moodiness, and the canned amusement park sounds were perfect. The sound effects like thunder and a crackling fireplace, they aren't realistic by today's standards, but they make you remember a time when the best tool for evoking mood was a player's own imagination. Along with retro feel though, comes retro frustrations. For example, you can only save in safe rooms. This isn't too much of a problem because there are a lot of them, and they're easy to get to, especially after you unlock shortcuts. Also, you can't move while aiming or shooting your weapon, so you gotta quickly create some distance, but not too much, and then unload a bunch of bullets or whatever into its zombie gullet. I think this was deliberate. Stress and tension are really important parts of horror games. Designing an intentionally clunky combat system is just part of that. What wasn't frustrating though was the map. It was detailed and very helpful. It wasn't customizable though, which is okay. It was detailed enough that you don't really need to mark it up. Another nice feature is the price, $20 at the time of this review. Although it's short, you can replay the game to try to, for example, achieve S-Class, which means you can only use so many healing items and you can't get hints from the fortune teller machine, which gives you up to 10 hints if you're lost. So $20 for a 6-hour game, we could argue that that's steep, but it's actually longer than that if you consider the different things you can try to accomplish, like getting all the achievements. Alright, we all love a scoring system, so here's mine, which I call the Maestro Mark. The Maestro Mark is a score that grades 5 categories, each with a maximum of 2 points. Add them together and you get a score out of 10. Narrative, 2 points. It's a good story told well. Graphics, 2 points. The blocky design felt right for what the game succeeded in accomplishing. Gameplay and mechanics, 1 point. Deliberate or not, the frustration of not being able to move while aiming your weapon hurt. Music and sound, 2 points. The game used amusement park sound effects to help create the creepy mood. Value and replayability, 1 point. I didn't feel like I needed to play the game again, although you absolutely could if you wanted to 100% the game. This gives a Maestro Mark of 8, which means I think you'll love it. So please let me know what you think. If you played the game, comment and tell me what I got right or what I got wrong. And if you enjoyed the review, please consider subscribing. I'll keep making these videos and these reviews as often as I can. Bye for now.